Ladies and gentlemen, is Bitcoin on track for all-time highs in 2024? Is it on track for a regular 2025 bull market? There's a lot of questions we're going to answer, and the old ways of answering these questions are actually asinine. The ways we used in the last cycle, fear greed index, stock to flow model, CBBI, they're all asinine now. We can't use them anymore. We have to use the old methods and my preferred methods. And using these methods, we can start to answer the big questions. Are we going to reach all-time highs next year? How is the short term looking? What are we going to do in the short term? Can we reject here? How long can we reject here for without damaging the cyclical structure? This is an insightful video. We're going to be answering all of those questions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. The reality of the crypto space is that overboard optimism and overboard pessimism gets hype, gets attention, gets views. And we've seen things like the stock to flow model in the past by Plan B, which predicted a Bitcoin going to over 100K in the last cycle, get completely knocked out of the park, get completely destroyed, get completely wrecked, and really invalidated quite extensively when Bitcoin only went to 69K. We've seen revisions to stock to flow model, but it begs the question, well, if you're constantly revising your predictive formula, perhaps the formula is incorrect, especially considering this formula now predicts a Bitcoin all-time high at 445K, which is completely in neglect of diminishing returns, because if you look at the last cycle from bottom to top, we saw a 2,000% return, and in order to see diminishing returns, if we were to go to 400K like it said, 440K like it said, we'd be going all the way up to around here, which is basically completely ignoring diminishing returns because we'd go higher than we did from bottom to top in the last cycle. So things like stock to flow model, traditional methods of predicting price action, of predicting cyclical tops and bottoms, we're looking at things like stock to flow, we're looking at things like CBBI, which is constantly being altered behind the eyes of the public, right, under a veil, which is just not reliable anymore. Even fear and greed index, it's constantly being altered. It's also quite unreliable in the sense that we haven't seen any sort of greed in the cryptocurrency market at all, even though we've moved upwards 150% from the lows, in the same way that we didn't see any sort of actual fear, until June 2021, which is when we were already, down 50% from the highs. We were down all the way down here, 56% for highs. So, these old indicators of the last cycle, CBBI, stock to flow, fear greed index, they're all irrelevant now. And now we kind of just have to trust what I've been saying we need to trust the whole time, and that is the 4-year cycle. Now, by now, everyone knows what the 4-year cycle is, okay? It's a date range trend that's been present on Bitcoin for in excess of 11 years now, triggered by the halving. The halving's coming up very shortly in 5 or 6 months in April. And so we're heading into our next cycle, right? The halving triggers the cycle. The cycle starts with a bull market. We're heading into a bull market in next year, specifically starting to kick off mid to late next year, going all the way through to the end of 2025. That's what the 4-year cycle suggests, and we have absolutely no reason to doubt that at this point in time. No valid reason to doubt that. Now, of course, there's speculative reasons, like a market crash of traditional markets, etc., recession, there's things like that. But that's not actually a charting reason. There's no actual empirical evidence to be gathered and really considered and actually applied properly in relation to 4-year cycle. It's all speculative, right? It's all guessing. And so this 4-year cycle is not guessing. This is empirical evidence. This is real data. This is what's actually happened historically, trends that actually exist. And these trends, as I said, predict a all-time high in, or at least a cyclical high in October 2025, specifically Q4 2025. And so using this 4-year cycle, we can come to conclusions on other micro trends, like, well, when are we going to see a next all-time high on Bitcoin? When are we going to see 70K break, right? We can start to come to conclusions about this kind of thing. And we can start to point out that, okay, we understand Bitcoin acts cyclically. We understand that Bitcoin acts cyclically in a date range trend format, right? The 4-year cycle is not really based on actual percentage price movements. It's more based on, like, okay, every 1,500 days this happens, every 300 days this happens, every 400 days this happens. That's what it's based on. It's based on days, right? Time rather than price. And so using that, right, we can start to understand, okay, well, where can we find more kind of date range trends? We can find date range trends forming in things like, okay, in 2013, okay, it took basically 1,100 days to breach the 2013 all-time high. We saw the entire bear market, we came right back up, and it took 1,100 days to breach that all-time high, right? And after that followed a bull market. Now, in 2018, okay, it took You could say it's a coincidence. I would say it's unlikely to be a coincidence, right? It took, again, about 1,100 days, roughly the same period of time. Not exactly the same, but roughly the same period of time, okay? Or roughly the same distance of time. 1,100 days to breach the all-time high once more. Now, this is not a trend, right? We can't say just because it's happened 2 times in the past, it's going to happen again. We simply can't do that because we need 3 data points to make a trend. But what we can say is that, well, yes, technically speaking, it's not a trend yet. But this has only occurred, and this has only been likely to occur because there is an underlying basis for it to occur, that being the 4-year cycle, in which these cyclical trends become incredibly likely to start to form. And so knowing we're still in the same 4-year cycle, which is the same circumstance that allowed these 2 things to happen, right? Allowed the all-time high to be breached 1,100 days apart, 2 times separately, 4 years apart, we can start to say, well, it's likely, it's not certain and it's certainly not a trend, but it's likely that this will happen again. And so using that, we can say, okay, look, we're probably going to breach all-time highs on Bitcoin around November next year. All right, and realistically, yes, we're going to give it a bit of leadway. Realistically, it was 1,130 days over here, it was 1,190 over here, so say, give or take 50 days on either side. It could be as early as September, could be as late as December. Right, so we know that by the end of next year, based on the 4-year cycle and based on speculative trends that are forming within the 4-year cycle, we could be breaching all-time highs. So using that as a basis for the next part of our video, well, are we on track for doing that? Are we on track for reaching 70k in the end of 2024? And I would say yes, we certainly are. You know, even though Bitcoin sits at very major resistance right now, it sits, you know, at the top of an ascending channel formation stemming back from August 2022. It sits at major resistance, and I'm going to draw in a red box here so you can identify it very clearly, between 37.5k and 40k, which are actually our major resistance box. It sits at major resistance, and it's not unplausible at all that Bitcoin could reject here and go all the way down to something like 32k, even down to 30k. It's actually not unplausible at all that could occur. It's very, very, you know, I'm not going to say likely, but it's very possible that could occur. And even if this occurred, even if we were to go all the way down here, even if that correction was to take, you know, months, you know, it wouldn't throw us off track. We still would be on track for a 70k high in 2024. And why am I in late 2024? And why am I willing to say that? You know, surely if we would go all the way down to 30k, surely seeing a gain from 30k all the way up to 70k, 150% gain in what, just under a year, would be slightly unachievable. I would say it's not. And the reason why I'd say it's not is because I can pin down what actually needs to happen. I don't like people thinking in price terms, because price terms are not really valid in a way, right? And I think the 4-year cycle itself gives us a reason to say that. Price, percentage movements, it's not important. What matters is time frames, right? And if we're looking at and price levels more specifically, not exactly the percentages between them, right? Well, I'll say this, right? A 30% gain from 100k is 30,000 USD. A 30% gain from 10k is only 3,000 USD. It's not the price itself that's relevant. It's the percentage gain that is relevant, right? And it's the major levels in between that are relevant. Now, if we're looking at where we are right now, okay, yeah, Bitcoin's at major resistance, and we need to get to 70k, and we realistically probably should be doing that by the end of next year, and that would very much validate even further the validity of the 4-year cycle, which makes us very confident, which would make us very confident in the fact we're going to see a 2025 all-time high in Q4 2025. We realistically want to be seeing 70k next year so that we can be confident and continue to be confident in 4-year cycle. And, you know, I'm saying we're on track because if we're looking at this objectively, we can look at the volume profile and we can say, okay, ignoring the actual price in US dollars between here and there, we only actually have 2 levels really left to conquer. Well, yeah, we have this level here, but ignoring this level at 40k, we only really have this level at 48k, and then we only really have 58k, and then above that, it's nothing. There's nothing there. So, you know, we've only got 2 more levels to attack to the upside. And if we look at the past year on Bitcoin, we've broken above 18.5k, which is a major level. We've broken above 24.5k, which is a major level. We've broken above 32k. We've broken above 3 critical resistance levels, and now we've got 3 left. We've got 1 here, we've got 1 here, we've got 1 here. It's very plausible that Bitcoin can take 3 major resistance levels as support in a whole year, right? That's not unplausible by any stretch of the imagination. So I would say we're perfectly on track. We're actually perfectly in time at this point in time. And even if we were to reject for say 100 days, even if we were to reject for 3 months, you know, I think that we'd certainly have enough time to break 40k, test this level here, break that, test this level here, break that, and then it's open season. We're already there at that point. All we need to do is conquer 40k, 48k, and 57k, and 58k, and then we're good to go. That's basically it. So if yeah, like you can look at the charts two ways, right? You can say, okay, well, we've got 30,000 USD to go to the upside. That's a long way. I don't know if we'll make it. Or you can say, well, if you look at all this price action, we've only ever seen like a year of historical price action on Bitcoin ever in that price region. So there's not many orders built up in that region. And so the orders that are built up in that region are usually conglomerated in specific zones. And those specific zones we can identify using the volume profile. And those zones are 40k, 48k, and 57k, right? And then after 57k, it's literally easy for us to get to the high. We've spent basically no time on Bitcoin historically above 57k. We will be there in a week. This is what I want people to understand. Bitcoin jumps between these volume profile levels like it's nothing. If we go back to a replay, let's go back, let's pretend we're over here in January, the start of this year. Let's bring up volume profile again. We can see that, the volume profile was saying, okay, there's a critical level here at 18.5k. It was correct. Okay, we broke that to the upside. It was saying there's a critical level here at 28k. It was correct. We broke that to the upside. Critical level at 30k and 40k. Correct. Right, there was a critical level down here. You can see a massive low. The lowest point in the volume profile was at 24.5k roughly, and it was correct in that as well. The volume profile has been very, very precise in predicting where these major levels are and where Bitcoin is going to have zones of confluence. It's not a surprise to me at all that Bitcoin has acted in the way it's acted this year in relation to those critical zones. Support and resistance levels are easily identifiable, preceding the price action that will surround them. And so for me to sit here and say that we're going to see major price action at 48k and 58k and 40k, which we're seeing right now, it's not unsupportive for me to say that at all. I know that to be the case because I'm seeing the data on the screen. So do I think that Bitcoin is on track? Yes, I think it's perfectly on track. And furthermore, I think Bitcoin could even take a break for a bit or correct. And I think, honestly, as I said, it's very plausible that it does that. We've got trends on Bitcoin that suggest that, okay, we're looking back at 2012, we saw the low, we saw a move upwards, we saw consolidation below this yellow line for 200 days, we broke above, consolidation again for 200 days, and then broke above again, right? Kind of a 5-step plan. The same thing happened in 2015. If that was to happen again right now, I know I haven't explained it too well, but it's not really necessary for me to explain it too well. If that was to happen again right now, we would see 200 days consolidation. We would only be moving up again in May next year. Okay, we'd only be breaking 40k in May next year. Even if that was the case, which I actually don't agree with, right? I think we'll move up before then. But even if that was the case, I still even think then that if we were to wait and go sideways until May next year, I still think the 6 months we would have from May to November next year to reach all-time highs as per the cyclical trends that are forming would be plenty because we've only got 3 levels. And especially that time in the cycle when interest is coming back to the market. So is Bitcoin on track? Certainly, I think it is. And I don't think there's anything to worry about from a cyclical perspective right now. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Unless Bitcoin drops below 28.6k, this red line on the screen here, that would be a drop below this ascending channel formation. That would be a drop below bull market support band. It'd be a drop below Gaussian channel, drop below 200-week SMA. Unless it does that, I'm not really concerned because I understand that everything to do with Bitcoin that I have based my entire strategies on for years, okay, for cycles now, 2 whole cycles now, has been based on 4-year cycle. And the 4-year cycle is not based on price points, it's based on date ranges. So as long as we're in line with the 4-year cycle based on a date range trend perspective, I'm completely fine with whatever Bitcoin does in the short-term price action, sparing dropping below 28.6k because I just don't see how it's necessary. But is Bitcoin on track? Certainly, I think it is. What about the short-term price action? Well, a brief analysis of short-term is we dropped below this line on the daily chart RSI, we rejected from it. We've got 2 major support lines right here. I've said it before, I'll say it again, right? It's very difficult to be bearish on the short-term price action because we haven't broken the upwards trend yet. The upwards trend is still very much valid. We've been in an upwards trend since September 11th. We have not broken it yet. If we come down and break these yellow lines, break the upwards trend, I can flip bearish. As of right now, it's very difficult to be bearish. And it's also very difficult to be bullish because you can't really be buying into major resistance like this. It's not a logical thing to do. I'm very much neutral on the short-term price action. I think there are more bearish indicators than bullish indicators, but I'm not sitting here and making short orders right now. I think it's very much a situation where you just wait on the sidelines and see what happens. And that's why I haven't focused on it much in this video. I've focused more on the medium-term and macro perspective. And I've answered the question, is Bitcoin on track? I certainly think Bitcoin is very much on track. I don't think there's anything to worry about cyclically. And even if Bitcoin was to correct downwards for 3 months, I still wouldn't think that. It's only if we broke 28.6k or if we really started pushing it and started being like, okay, it's August 2024, we're still consolidating below 40k. That's when you start to get worried, right? Because that's when trends would start to be invalidated. But at this point, everything's perfect in my opinion. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's check out the VIP group on Telegram. VIP information and results group on Telegram is on the screen right now. It's got a photo with all of the information, the pricing details, the membership details, 14-day free trial membership details if you want to join without paying, check it out. And then also a PDF of all of our trading results, wins, losses, and draws, everything. It's all transparent on there. 80.5% win rate, exceptional. If you want to make money on altcoins trading, you can do so on the VIP group with me. And then also, if you want an exchange to trade on, which you need, obviously, and some people need better exchanges because there's a lot of trashy exchanges out there, right? Bingx Exchange and Bitget Exchange are the ones for you. Bingx is a global non-KYC exchange. You can sign up from anywhere in the world with just an email address and a password. It takes literally 1 minute. And then Bitget is global KYC, anywhere in the world aside from the USA. So anyone outside of USA can sign up, KYC. It takes a few minutes to sign up there. Both have extremely low trading fees. Both get even lower trading fees with my referral link for a 15% trading fee discount. Both have never been hacked before, and both have extensive protection funds in case they are hacked to reimburse your funds. So excellent exchanges. I've handpicked them. Check them out with my referral link below for those exclusive discounts and rewards you won't get anywhere else. And then finally, the Crypto Academy Become a Trader course, 10-unit course teaching people how to trade, teaching people charting, technical analysis, how to plan a portfolio, how to manage trades, how to find trades, market psychology, everything you need. Check it out. Email address is on the website. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers.